Welcome to three grown men nerd out about Star Wars for an hour.
Yeah. I mean, basically.
Are we calling the podcast like the You're Watching Movies Wrong podcast? Because I kind of like
That was a good concept.
Yeah, it sounds good like that.
It's maybe a little condescending though.
Well, people are watching movies wrong, so I don't feel that it's that condescending.
And it's not that far off though.
Well, I feel like the people that you're talking about is that crowd, if you know what I'm talking about. The people who make those comments who are like, this is dumb. I can't believe that you guys would not have a perfect movie.
Yeah.
We should probably introduce Rob at some point.
Hey,
I was just thinking that.
I'm the resident Star Wars geek here at CoLab Digital. As you can see,
we brought in an expert for this one because this one's going to be all about Star Wars.
It is.
They dropped the new.
Going down.
What's
coming up? I can't get
coming
it.
up.
Oh, no. All right, there we go.
Oh, this is how we
That
start a
didn't do
podcast.
anything.
It was a much
Just
needed
sit up a little. I mean,
emergency podcast on the Star Wars trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like when that trailer dropped, I was like, you know what? We could probably wait a couple days because Celebration just happened on the whole weekend. So now we're getting into the new weekend. We've had time to decompress, and now we've got so much Star Wars data coming out of like the internet. It's driving me insane as far as like not being able to talk about it with people.
There's been a lot of theories, and a lot of people have broken it down and done the thing that we talked about on the last podcast where they just every little tiny thing. Oh, there's somebody's hand. Oh, wait, that's a furry hand. Who could that be? Like, it's already been done.
Yeah.
That's like those channels. I will admit that I do watch some of them, especially with the Marvel ones, because I'm one of those people that I want to see and know as much information without knowing the plot. But I also know that the Russo brothers are those people that purposely put out stuff that is not real, and they've admitted that. But J.J. Abrams and Disney they're not one of those. So if you look at going all the way back to The Force Awakens, they put out as little footage as possible in their trailers because they knew that people were going to overanalyze and they're just going to break every little shot down. Like the one video I watched when the trailer came out was a 16-minute video over a 2-minute trailer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it broke down literally every second, every frame. And I'm like, dang, y'all. Like, I love Star Wars, but holy crap. Like, you can't detect what the movie's going to be in 2 minutes in a trailer. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's do this. We'll start out, each of us, your initial reaction when you first saw it. So Rob, you go first.
Oh my God. My reaction was just like,
Oof, on the spot.
like you can't hear what I'm saying because I was just blown away as far as like how good it looks and how much effort was put into as much detail and as little as possible at the same time. Like you've got the whole band back together. You've got fucking Palpatine in the end of the trailer. So people are just like, question mark, question mark, question mark. Oh my God, I love Star Wars again. That was not Mark Hamill laughing in the end there. I'll tell you that.
It was a joke.
But that was my reaction when I first saw the trailer. I was laying in my bed after work and I'm like, I need this. And I got it.
My initial reaction overall when the trailer was over was that was awesome. Wow. I can't believe that Endgame comes out in like 3 weeks and I'm already this excited about something else.
Yeah.
And but I had so many. I think the better thing to say is all the mini reactions I had during the trailer of like, holy shit, that's Lando. Oh my God, that's so cool. Like Billy D. Williams is back, Mr. Colt 45 himself.
Oh my God.
And the laugh totally flew over my head. Didn't get that until the second time watching the trailer. And like Rob said, I mean, visually, man, just so cool. Like the whole visual of her jumping over the plane with the lightsaber, I was like, all right, cool. I don't know what that means at all, but man, did that look cool. Like
she trained with Jason Bourne for at least 6 months before that happened. No, I'm kidding.
And just to clarify, anybody that's watching this, the reason we keep looking over this way is because Rob's on the screen over here.
Hey, what's up,
if
y'all?
you see us looking over here, it's because Rob's over there.
Yeah, I'm over here, and for me, you guys are right blow me. I'm just kidding.
So to wrap up my reaction, it was one of those trailers, like pretty much they all are for Star Wars, is where it was like, all right, everybody's got to see this because I got to talk about it with everybody. Like, I need to know everybody's opinion. I need to know what everyone else is thinking, like, because that was awesome.
It's almost, what's funny is like trailers have become such a thing that you don't even want to spoil the trailer for people. Like, right. You don't even want to be like, did you see the trailer? And then people are like, no. And you're like, watch it. And we'll come back and we'll have this conversation.
Yeah,
you're like, there's too much for me to tell you. I don't want to ruin anything for you.
I actually got to watch someone else watch the trailer. Yeah, like, he came into work later and I was like, did you see the Star Wars trailer? And he was like, what? And I was like, all right, put it up right now.
My reaction, it was kind of like just seeing that initial, I love how they built things up and actually gave it air in the beginning where they kind of like built that tension and then they gave you that payoff and then they gave you boom, 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 hit after hit of like, okay, this is a thing that can, here's Kylo Ren. Here's his helmet. He's coming back with the helmet. Like, right. There's all these little things that it was like just punctuated and then exclamation points. And then you get things like, I knew that they were bringing Lando back, but at the same time, seeing it was a completely different thing. Like, knowing that it was going to happen and then actually seeing it was a completely different experience. It blew me away.
I bet somewhere that I had read that he was coming back, but I guess I had just forgotten because when I saw that, I was like, that totally makes sense that he would come back. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But I'm glad you brought up Kylo's helmet because I don't know why that slipped my mind. That was awesome. Like, I was like, oh, it's coming back. Like, because I was kind of disappointed in Last Jedi when he destroyed it. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Like,
well, they did it pretty tastefully, I think, in The Last Jedi, even though a lot of people hate on that film. It was, to me, it felt a lot like he was breaking the chains of this, like, guy that was holding him back from becoming his true self and becoming Ben Solo. And he had been hiding that. But now you see the trailer. You look at it and you're like, this could mean so many things. Is it a metaphor for J.J. Abrams repairing the damage done by The Last Jedi? Maybe. It could also be maybe Ben Solo is taking on his own mantle and saying, okay, there's this void. There's nobody there. I'm going to become the next Sith Lord. And
I feel like it was him taking his place back because that's what happened was take off the stupid helmet, basically what he was told. And he was like, oh, a hurt little, child. And now it's like the metaphor is that he's becoming his own man and that he's taking back what he originally, like his original personality and who he was before he was told, you're a little bitch.
Like, hey, no, screw you. I like the helmet. Like,
well, even his father in The Force Awakens was like that scene where they face off and they finally have that father-son moment before he fucking, kills him. He even says, Han Solo says to him, you don't need that helmet. Take it off. And he's like, that's just another step of people trying to tell him who he is. And I feel like now the mask being repaired is a metaphor for, I'm taking my life back. This is who I've always wanted to be. You guys can just sit down. All those people who stood in my way are dead. You know what I mean?
If you physically look at the story arc that they've given Kylo Ren, he was supposed to be a hero. And then he becomes this villain from kind of no fault of his own. And then he...
he said...
But then he gets, he becomes this insolent little punk, pretty much.
Yeah.
He's kind of a jerk. And then he is kind of shot down and is like, little bitch boy, take off your helmet. Do what I say, because I'm in charge. And then he's like, no, second father. And then takes him out. Right. And then now he's trying to grow up. And I don't know if that means that him growing up and taking his own path, and this has been talked about on the internet too, is if he's going to come back as, a support for Rey, or is he going to be the opposition? Is that going to continue on being the opposition?
Well, we've obviously seen in the first two movies that he is very impressionable. And this could be this final act of like, this is my swan. No, yes, obviously he doesn't think it's a swan song, but we know it's going to be the swan song. Yeah. Like, but it's his defiance. It's his stand. And yeah, no, you said it great, Rob, was when you said that that scene in Last Jedi when he destroys the helmet is a tasteful scene, because it is, because right before that scene, he gets his ass handed to him by Snoke, and he's embarrassed because he kind of stands up to him and Snoke immediately snuffs him out.
Yep.
And then you have that, because I just watched Last Jedi last night for probably like the third time in the last 2 months, and that whole 5 to 10 minute stretch that he has after that, where he's in the fighter and he has the moment of weakness where he's like, can I kill my mom too?
Yes.
But he doesn't. But he has no reaction to when the lasers are actually fired. When someone else fires off the missiles or whatever that takes it out, he doesn't have that visceral, like, no, what did you do? Like, reaction. So it's like, I don't know. He's the guy him and Finn are the ones I'm most excited about, because those are the two characters coming after Force Awakens where I was like, wow, those are really interesting characters, and they're for the most part very different than anything that we've seen in Star Wars before. Like, Kylo Ren has a lot of similarities to Anakin Skywalker, I think, from the prequels, where there's an obvious, like, I kind of like this guy, but I kind of don't like this guy, but I kind of also see that the guy I'm seeing right now is not the guy I'm going to see by the end of this movie, by the end of this series, when the story is done. But now the arc of those characters is going to be really interesting moving forward. Can't wait to see what happens.
Ben as a character, because that's his true name, Kylo's true name, he has a lot of pain. He goes through a lot that's not seen until you start to get the glimpses of it in The Last Jedi. And I think that's something Rian Johnson did very well, was to show physically on screen, like, hey, there's 2 points of view of this. Luke Skywalker was going to kill him in his sleep, turn him into Kylo Ren, and then Kylo, or Ben, then on the other side sees his mentor, his family, because that's his actual blood uncle, going to kill him. But you don't see that regret in Luke Skywalker. Neither side saw each other's perception, like, of what really happened there. And with that echo of, like, that type of theme happens in Star Wars so much that a character can be looked at as good or bad or almost right. But like Darth Vader, like, people were thinking, like, holy crap, he might be right, because the Jedi kind of did betray him in episode 3. And they were going to become like this authoritarian, like, super powerful group. But Palpatine, being evil, just turned it just one click more, and he became evil. Same thing with Kylo. Luke had to hit that dial just one click more, and then he fell into the hands of Snoke, and then that's where you've got a broken person. And that's what I think is extremely interesting, because, like, the villains aren't just villains to be villains, like a Justice League movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they actually have deep connections with the rest of the characters.
They've got something that's almost relatable. That's what I think is really great about the Star Wars universe, is, like, almost every character is somewhat relatable to the every person. Like, you can find something in almost every character that you're like, except for Jar Jar.
Oh, but he's the real Lord of the Sith, man. Come on.
Yeah, I was just about to say, well, that's if Lucas got to do what he wanted to do, man. No, but that's 100%, I think, a result of Lucas's original idea with Star Wars, in my opinion, and I think I've seen him say this as well, is that it was a space opera. It's a space,
man.
What do they call it? Soap opera. And all of those characters, not that I know from watching soap operas, but I imagine all of those characters have maybe not clear, but they all have story arcs. Because if not, why are you watching so-and-so?
Right.
Kiss so-and-so's uncle or aunt or whatever happens on those shows.
And honestly, like, without the story arcs, without the personal stake of those characters, it's just a big universe with infinite possibilities. And if you don't zero in on the struggles between the Skywalker lineage, it's like you have nothing. You have 1,000 stories that you can't tell in 9 episodes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what I think is cool about this one, having done research after the trailer, J.J. Abrams actually confirmed that this isn't going to be a story that's the characters are separated, like what happens a lot in the third act of a lot, they're actually going to be together in a group adventure where they have to pick up the pieces months or even years, nobody knows how long, but after the events of the last film, and they have to do it together. Otherwise, they can't survive. That's kind of like the theme going forward for this film, and I thought that was really cool because a lot of people were afraid it's going to be like, oh, this is exactly like Return of the Jedi, which was the last in the series of, the original trilogy that came out. I mean, there are always going to be callbacks because George Lucas himself even said, history repeats itself. No matter how much you try to not repeat itself, it always will. And he did that on purpose with episode 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9. You're going to see the theme repeat because people just can't seem to learn from their mistakes, especially when it's their own family. They can't just like block the emotion off. They have to either feed into it or learn from it. And you're seeing that happen all together in this. And I'm really, really hoping that if something like Palpatine returns, they just have this big ass epic battle at the end, and there's just like force lightning happening everywhere, and like Kylo and like fucking Leia's not going to be there, unfortunately, but I'm just hoping it pans out to be something great, and I really think it will because J.J. Abrams he's a genius. So
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
That's it. No, I'm kidding.
That's the end of this podcast. We'll see you next week on Rob Talk Star Wars.
And it's going to be so interesting to see it's going to be interesting to see what the whole movie is going to be like, but it's going to be so interesting to see what the end of the film is going to look like. I mean, are we going to have a moment of clarification where like, wow, that's the end of one story? Or are we going to be walking out of the film like, well, Jesus, when's the next one coming out? Like, we're going to have that feeling regardless, but it's, you're going to have, depending on what the end of the film is going to look like, that feeling is going to, be ramped up X amount or, lowered X amount. It's I
feel like you're going to get this, and it would be appropriate for the Star Wars universe to end this, because they're basically saying this is the end of like the Skywalker lineage story. They're trying to end that. And it would be really smart if they end it in a way that kind of puts a bow on the Skywalker lineage, but at the same time gives you that feeling of hope for the future of the Star Wars universe. Maybe not necessarily these characters, but the Star Wars universe as a whole and where that can go in the future. I would think that would be an appropriate ending where it's not necessarily going to give you absolutely everything that you're expecting and everything that you would want out of the final movie, but it gives you enough to where you're like, I'm comfortable with this, and it leaves me with a feeling of kind of like, we can pass the torch now.
Yeah.
So maybe even like, you're talking about like, you wrap it up and then there could be a trilogy or a series or something that would happen either before or after those. So like the stories will never end. You've got the timeline, you've got that set bracket, and then you just shadow on down and make just like the Mandalorian. Well, like, did you see the stuff on that?
No. Yeah.
I've seen some of the pictures and read some articles.
So, dude who did Iron Man, Jon Favreau, he is working with this guy named Dave Filoni, who has been working with Lucasfilms and Disney for a while. Dave Filoni's the dude who does he does Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars, all the animated series. He writes those. For the first time, him and an actual like real director getting together to make The Mandalorian, which is happening between episodes 6 and 7. So it's before The Force Awakens and after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and what they're going to do is they're going to pull from the universe that, after Return of the Jedi, they had all these authors and video games and like make novels and stuff that was considered like could be canon. And when then Disney bought out Lucasfilm, they kind of like erased it or called it Legends. Well, Jon Favreau goes, well, we're going to pull from the EU, which is the extended universe, and go, these stories are viable. Let's start shuffling them back in and make it canon again. So I'm excited about when this film ends and you start having just director after director being like, I've always wanted to do a Star Wars show. I've always wanted to do like a Star Wars movie, like create their own franchise, you know?
About how you get to play in somebody's sandbox. I mean, how many directors can you think of that would do an amazing Star Wars film and would probably like jump at the chance to do so? There are tons of them. Every
single one. I mean, from Celebration, I saw, I can't remember his name, and I'm usually pretty good at that. The dude who did Thor Ragnarok, he's actually like helping direct a couple episodes of that Mandalorian show. So it's like, dang, you've got all these people who like loved Marvel, and now they're coming in, they're working on Star Wars. I'm like, Star Wars is just like getting this flaming Star Wars everywhere now.
It is going to be really cool to see Favreau get to play in another universe the size of that again, because I mean,
I think he's
one that he actually likes too. He actually loves it.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he's a great director. You look at his IMDb page, it may not be that long, but there's a lot of good stuff on there. But what I was going to say is, I mean, he is the ultimate forgotten man in terms of the Marvel universe. I mean, that Iron Man is the first movie, and I actually just watched that the other night and was thinking, that guy in the cave that helps Tony build the suit, he's like the real guy who started the whole Avengers.
Are you serious? Like without him, he could never have been Tony Stark, because he's the one who put the damn
dude's got
metal thing in his chest, right?
No, he's got steady hands.
I can't remember his name, but he should have his picture on a plaque somewhere, or in Tony Stark's wallet everywhere he goes.
That should be just a little callback in Endgame where like they're about to walk out in their new suits and like you see his picture up on the mantle and he's like the real hero of the event.
A random picture of him.
I feel bad for not knowing his name. The dude in the cave that sacrificed his life. Yeah. Look, we all know it's Captain Marvel who's done. No, I'm just kidding.
It is cool. Like, I mean, I know this started on Star Wars, but I've been rewatching the Marvel movies to get ready for Endgame, so I want to watch as many of them as possible before then. And I'm almost finished Phase 1. It is really cool to see all the callbacks are all like, it's not even callbacks at that point in this movie, but all the stuff where it's like, the Avengers are coming. And it's like, oh man, it's being taken back to that moment of like, oh, it's so cool.
And you forget about it, but there's so many things that have happened throughout that timeline that have affected things in the future. Like, there's just so much. There's just so much.
So cool.
It's very saturated, and you have the minds of like, you got to think like every person who's directed those movies had their own vision of that character, but then they had to like really intertwine it in this really elaborate 21 movie thing to get to Endgame, and now you're like, this is where it ends. How are they going to wrap it up? It's almost like the end of this trilogy for Star Wars. Like, how are they going to make this bow? Like, how are they going to wrap it up and make it something spectacular, and that you're not just
because
like, what
it
the
spans
fuck
how
did
many
they
years?
Do? You know, it's like 10 years. Yeah.
I was just about to say it's going to be so interesting to see, because I mean, obviously both of these things that we're talking about are Disney owned properties. So it's going to be so amazing to see moving forward, because I think as much as I liked the Solo movie, I think they learned a lot from that movie in terms of Star Wars is not like Marvel, where you can put a movie out every single year and expect people to still have the same interest in it. I'm not saying that people aren't as interested in Star Wars as they are as Marvel, but the pool is at this point not as big enough for you to come out with a feature-length film every year. I think it's better to start pulling, like The Mandalorian is going to be a great example of this, smaller shows of stuff that is a property, but not as big of a property to the entire Star Wars fan base. Like, there's going to be a lot of people who watch this show who are going to know Easter eggs and have ideas, because like you said, there's stories that he's pulling from, but there's going to be a lot of people that are watching the show where this is all brand new material for them.
Yeah, well, everything's going to be brand new material. That's the thing, is like, with that type of story, comparing that to Solo, that was like a great point. Like, people in the Star Wars fandom are like they're really protective over their characters. So when they saw Solo come out, they're like, who is this guy that's going to be Harrison Ford? You know what I mean?
He had no chance. He had no chance. I felt so bad for that guy, because honestly, he had a good performance.
He had a good performance. He made it his own, but he wasn't the Han Solo that is Han Solo. It's, to me, it's a very good interpretation of what he could have been in the past, but at the same time, you look at it in the eyes of the fandom, and they're just like, this isn't my Han Solo, and then they just crapped all over it in the reviews. Same thing that happened with The Last Jedi when they started changing. When they started changing what they thought Luke should have, where he should have been. And I say that because there are just forums of people just like, man, Luke is supposed to be super powerful. He's not supposed to be a hermit. He was supposed to be the last hope of everything. And now he's just this like Yoda-like guy. Like everyone had this preconceptual thing. Yeah, like you can't have a preconceptual thing in your head and then as a director go in and go, guys, it's going to be fine. We're going to make it awesome. And that it's not going to happen. The fans have already made up their mind. But if you have a new property, like you said, man, like it's going to be successful because every character in there is new, fresh. It's in a universe that you already love. And then you start falling in love with these characters because you're interested in them, not the performance of somebody who's stepping in as them.
And I think that a big piece of what happened with Solo, and I haven't seen the film yet.
Wow.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, wow.
But the big thing with Solo is that just based off of the fandom and the way that they reacted, maybe every major character doesn't need an origin film. Yep. Like, we don't need to
Absolutely
have a Chewie
true.
film. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to go further back than where Chewie meets Han Solo to figure out his origin of, being a Wookiee. Like, we don't need to do that.
Spoiler alert, he meets him in this film. But the thing is, in the extended universe, it was already written that he met Chewbacca on his home planet and they had a previous relationship. So that was already something that was changed. So people had their minds made up about something that had been written by a novelist 14 years ago before the film was ever even conceptualized.
Well, the only way that film would have ever had a chance, in my opinion, is if it came out 20 years later and Harrison Ford was already dead. Like, because, I mean, we don't, even now, like, you think about it, like, that movie came out 3 years after we just also watched Han Solo die.
Yeah.
Like, no one was ready for that.
Yeah,
like,
no, it was too soon. It really was. I mean, they could have digitally enhanced his face and put it on him just like in, what was it, Rogue One? When they put Tarkin in there?
Yeah.
Oh. Which, by the way, as far as Star Wars goes, Tarkin was probably the biggest villain out of all of them.
Yep, he was.
Dude, he took Leia's face and put it in front of a viewfinder and was like, all y'all people are dead. Like, holy crap.
And then
that is villainous.
Yeah.
And then to see him in Rogue One where he like steps it up to another level where you see him now and like
I was like, he's the baddest dude in the Star Wars universe. And everyone talks about, freaking Palpatine and Darth Vader, but honestly, Tarkin is the worst freaking guy in the entire universe.
He's about to Nike that shit. He's about to take credit for somebody else's work.
Well, Palpatine put him in place for a reason. And he was basically like, Palpatine can't really be out in the public eye. So he was like, here's this evil dude who used to be a part of the Republic. And he's going to do the things that Palpatine is going to want him to do. And there's a couple of books that have him being pretty ruthless. And it's like, holy crap, this dude is just like, he's basically Hitler for real.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't give a crap about, he only cares about his agenda. And he's like, you know what? All those lives, there might be 1 billion people there. I get 1 point for Emperor Palpatine.
I'm glad you brought up Rogue One because that's a great tie-in to what we were just talking about. Rogue One really, in a lot of ways, is kind of a manuscript for how you should do Star Wars films with that kind of material, because it was material that was obviously, I mean, it's a bridge between two movies in a lot of ways, and so it's material that's already established, but it's not established, in the same sense. But there are those moments of callbacks, like when you see Vader on his home planet, and then when you see, or not his home planet, like his castle, and then you see Vader come in and lay the hammer down with the lightsaber at the end of the movie. I mean, that's what we all, exactly. Chills. That's what people as Star Wars fans, that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see a brand new story, but with those elements of like, holy shit, that's why I love this stuff.
What was going on while
Exactly.
And there are a lot of characters. And what I love about that is that spoiler alert, that they pretty much kill everybody at the end, which was nice.
Come on, it's been years. You can
we don't have
to spoil it.
Yeah,
I know.
But yeah, that they killed off like all those main characters. I was like, that is exactly what you were supposed to do. That is exactly what you were. You shouldn't have given them like them hanging out somewhere in the universe somehow.
Yeah.
You need to kill them off.
That's old school. That's old school Disney, baby. Bambi's mom dies at the end. Let's go.
That's exactly it.
Bambi's mom dies.
It's good storytelling at that point, because you know that there was an ultimate sacrifice made. They echo it and call to it within A New Hope. And especially you look at from the end of that movie and you go right into A New Hope, she's got those plans and then all of a sudden sees all her people die. That's 2 planets or teams that are just completely obliterated by this Death Star. And it just reinforces that Tarkin is an asshole.
Yeah. It all ties back to Space Hitler.
Tarkin is the Space Hitler of all Hitler. Now, what if he comes back?
I mean, there's questions.
No, I'm just...
Okay, that brings up a good point, because I had brought this up with you last night.
The Palpatine theory.
But I wanted to save it for tonight to get deep into it, because we were like, just save it.
We have to.
I asked you about, okay, we're bringing Palpatine back. What if...
But are we?
Well, in some capacity.
Yeah.
Let's get some theories on this.
So my idea is that why wouldn't they do something where they bring Darth Vader back somehow?
Well, my theory to counter that question about Darth Vader, we're going to do it. We have to do it in bullet points, right? Darth Vader, he's already a Force ghost. So he's already accepted and become one with who he was, went back completely to the light side, because in the Star Wars fandom, or the Star Wars universe, once you do that, you were just basically like a protector, one with the Force, right? Now, as far as Palpatine goes,
that's how I want to go out.
So as far as Palpatine goes, there's like so many theories, so much written about what could have happened. He could have gone down with the ship, just like how Vader threw him into the thing and he's like, and dies. He could come back because he could have been a clone. They had the technology with all the clone troopers and everything. So why wouldn't you use Camino and be like, I'm going to make 14 clones of myself just in case my one dude, Darth Vader, throws me into this thing? Or back in episode 3, you hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and they're talking about how, hey, I know how to live forever, kind of thing.
Was he that person?
There are so many. There's those 3 possibilities. So if he doesn't come back in some capacity, I think I'd be a little disappointed, but at the same time, I think that maybe that knowledge could have been brought to another person and maybe is living through somebody else. And maybe not Snoke because he's dead, or maybe Snoke isn't dead. Maybe Snoke is a chalice for having his soul put into him. I don't know, man. The dark side is insane.
Okay. I like that you bring that back up. So Snoke, I'm wondering what role he's going, because I don't think he's done yet, because it was too abrupt, or maybe he was just a patsy to just
Rian Johnson.
Yeah,
that would be such a throwaway.
If he comes back in some capacity, because we're already saying that potentially Palpatine is coming back or whatever, what would stop Snoke from being something that either comes back or, like you said, was just
he could be literally just waiting for he's got his life force in him. And maybe that's why Snoke was so messed up looking. It's because his body was healing and that he was Palpatine in some form, but he's like some other living creature and he has to turn back into him somehow.
Okay.
When I realized, sorry.
No, you're good. No, I was gonna say another possibility could be that with the view of the ship in the very, very end of the trailer, he could still be in there living.
Right.
Maybe he never died, because
you
don't see him physically die. And the reason why I think that's a possibility more than anything is because Darth Maul is still alive he was after episode 1. They brought him back into the cartoon series and like Star Wars Rebels and all that stuff. He got mechanical legs, got put back together, and he's actually in another movie that I can't say because someone hasn't seen it. Jeff. But yeah, that's a thing. It's like he fell off almost the same way into this vat. Like this, you don't see where he goes, and he just disappears, but you don't know if he's dead. So he could be brought back somehow because the dark side of the Force is so strong with him. It just keeps him alive until it can, over years and years and years, be manifested some other way.
Yeah, my thought was when I realized, and I didn't realize it on my own, I saw an article that said something about Palpatine's laugh, and then I watched it again, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't even hear the laugh. Like, I guess I was just so juiced up on everything else, it just flew over my head.
Yeah.
But my first thought was like, well, that kind of makes sense, because how many times have we seen the Jedi go? So we've seen that numerous times. We've never seen anything like that with the bad guys. Why wouldn't they have something like that? Like maybe Kylo has this moment of weakness or this moment of like doubt or whatever, and Palpatine comes to him and he's like, yeah, your last master was a bitch. Like,
your last master was actually my bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the puppet master pulling the strings.
Your last master used to be my servant. Now I'll teach you the real ways about the dark side. Do you want to know about your uncle or whatever?
I mean, to be fair, I really hope that Snoke wasn't a big throwaway. And if he was, I hope it was in the point of they threw him away to bring him back some other way. And that either Palpatine was involved in that, or he was like, in a vision somewhere, you see like Snoke looking at an image of the Emperor being killed, and all of a sudden he comes in and is like, well, he's dead. Now I have to live on through something to make the dark side equal and balance with the light side. Because that's like the theme of Star Wars, is like light side, dark side. There can only be one here and one here, and that's why all this crap keeps happening, right?
That's why I think we're gonna have a better clear vision of, after this movie, that the light side and the dark side are a lot closer and a lot more similar than they've ever been portrayed to us before.
The Rise of the Skywalkers.
Like, it's gonna be much more clear that, like, because that's what I think happened with, like, that's why I think, or not why he moved out there in Last Jedi or before Last Jedi, but I think that's what Luke learned in his stay on that planet, in the most unfindable part of the galaxy, whatever planet it was called, I can't remember. But that's what he learned in his time there, was that the Jedi, as much good as they did as much bad, if not more bad, because violence against violence only creates more violence for the most part. That's why, and this could be just getting into some meta shit, I don't know, but that's why
I agree.
You have that scene when he fights Kylo at the end of Last Jedi. He doesn't fight him. Everything is 100% evasive maneuvers. He doesn't strike him at all, and then he just disappears. Like, he's showing everyone and Kylo that he is still the most powerful Jedi in the universe without doing not anything, but without fighting at all. Like, you can't even beat him even when I'm not fighting. Does that make any sense? Like,
I know what you mean, but like that scene itself, I'll tell you, that was a forced projection. Luke wasn't actually there.
Yeah, no,
so,
yeah, because he's
right. So like he's become so in tune with the dark and the light side. And I think that's what you're trying to say, is like he created this new like way of the Force, because he was able to be like, well, the Jedi is just way too light side and the dark side is just way too dark side. Let me meet somewhere here and become balanced. So that's what you're kind of talking about, right?
Because he has the scene even before then when he gives the first lesson to Rey, when he says, the Jedi don't own this, or like, to think anything other, to think that without us this doesn't exist is asinine, or something like that. He says something along those lines. It's like, we don't own this power. I don't know.
I think that's what gets lost, is that it's all connected. You need the dark and the light in order to balance the Force.
Exactly. And no one's got it yet.
And that the dark side of the Force isn't necessarily a bad side of the Force. It's just the opposite side of the coin of the same thing.
Boom, that shit ties into Doctor Strange.
Motherfucker.
Because that's the whole thing. That's whole Tilda Swinton's.
That's the yin and yang. That's literally like that idealism is actually built into like what is it, Buddhism or something like
Taoism.
that? Taoism? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so you've got yin and yang, and the whole fight between everyone in Star Wars is, yes, you've got a political left and right, but you also have people who physically feel the universe and are struggling to say what's right and left, and then it's got to be here or otherwise it's broken.
I mean,
you see that throughout the whole movie.
The Force is like a metaphor for anti-extremism. Like, you don't need to be the extreme of any one thing, and the world is more of a shade of gray than it is black and white in pretty much every aspect. So to be a person that's like, only do these good things, or be a person that's like, well, the world sucks, so we're only going to do these bad things. Both of those are wrong. They're completely wrong. There's a balance to it. And I think that's the dance that we're seeing happen now with these Star Wars films, is that they're trying to... It's almost funny that we get these 3 films, and you get the episode 7, where it's kind of like almost a fan service film, where it's like, okay, we're going to do all these callbacks. We're going to mirror a lot of things in A New Hope. We're going to give you a new person to take on the mantle, and there's a lot of new stuff too, but there's a lot that's calling back and kind of getting you back into the mode for it. Mm-hmm. And then you get Rian Johnson comes in, and he's like, I'm going to put my own spin on it, and I'm going to
destroy everything.
I'm going to be the dark side of the Force on this one, and I'm going to take some things that you might not like, and I'm going to balance out what you got, so much of what you wanted in the first one, and I'm going to take that all away. And it's almost like, I'm going to do these things, and I'm going to balance it out. And then we're going to get the third one that's going to be like, let's tie this all together, and let's give you some things that you don't like, but also some things that you do like, and then leave you with that feeling of, I'm satisfied with where this went.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
you gotta see. You've got to see the characters actually live through the actions of or the consequences of the actions that happened in the last film. Like, it's like, life is not a perfect, thing. Right. And I think that's the takeaway of The Last Jedi, is it might not be the perfect Star Wars movie, but it really does mirror so much that can go wrong, that you're like, crap, this is actually a little more realistic as far as what would happen or could happen, because they're actual characters. What happened?
No, I was just checking.
What happened? Oh, okay, I got you.
So I think that Last Jedi fell into a difficult spot in terms of, I know I fell victim to this big time going into the theaters, that in some way, shape, or form, I think I expected it not to be Empire Strikes Back. Like, obviously it's never going to be, nothing's ever going to be like that, but I thought it was going to be this trilogy's version of Empire Strikes Back, where you left out on a certain note after Force Awakens. And I really thought going into the movie that I was going to walk out of the theater thinking like, damn, Kylo's a badass, like, or like the First Order, like, what are they going to do now? And that just wasn't the film. And me having that expectation, that's on me. Like, I shouldn't have walked into the theater with that expectation. But I think part of why I didn't care for it as much the first time I saw it is because I thought, it was going to be that. And there wasn't. We didn't have any moment like that in the movie where it was like, damn. Like, it was very much
everyone was losing. Like, the light side of the Force was losing the whole way through.
It is very subtle, and I'm going to defend The Last Jedi on this.
I'm sorry, before you go, I did not mean that to shit on Last Jedi.
Oh, no, and I love the movie.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that you are, but I am saying that there is a very slight tone throughout The Last Jedi that does match Empire, in the fact that you have moments where people lose things. And the end of the film is not happy. Just like Luke loses his hand. He finds out Vader is his father, which is insane. And then at the very end, you just see Leia and them like, crap, how are we going to pick up the pieces from this? So you do have that homage to, Empire. It just wasn't written as well. But they
set
did,
pieces aren't as large.
Right, but when you got to that point at the end, you see the broken lightsaber. That is the severed arm of the series.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So then in this new trailer, and I've been wanting to say this, you see the shot of Daisy Ridley's Rey just with the reconstructed lightsaber. You know it is because it's iconic, right? But they had this cool moment where you just see it in frame, and they use that framing for when shit's about to go down. Every time Han is about to kill somebody in the series, he's got the same frame where it has just the one part of him, like the Western frame, that's what they call it. Like they're about to draw down. I'm like, bro, this is going to come back hard. They had the really down moment. You know, Leia's not going to be in the next film for very long, but when that happens, everyone's going to go crazy, or they're going to have to scramble their characters to find and piece back the rebellion, because it's gone right now.
Yeah.
They literally had like 50 people left.
And speaking of that, I think that's a great little segue into finishing Last Jedi, where we talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Mary Poppins shit with Leia.
Okay, so that
I gotta hear his theory on this.
That was not as hokey pokey as I think people are making it out to be. Only because, oh my god, like so much crap that happens in the actual like books that are considered canon. Like, dude moved a damn fucking. You can move stuff with the Force. Why not your body? Why can't you sustain yourself with the living being all around you? Because she's a Jedi. She is just as much Skywalker as anyone in the Skywalker like family, right? So how come she can't have a moment like that where she preserves herself and then comes back and gives hope to the rest of, whoever's left in the rebellion?
I wasn't against it at all. I mean, the only reason I think it got so much backlash is for two reasons. Is one, we all knew that she was dead. Like, and it's not like they knew that. How were they supposed to know that she was going to die, like, a month before the movie came out? So, like,
true.
We all had that understanding of like, okay, well, we know she's like not going to be around that much longer in these series of movies. So like, how are they going to kill her off? So one, we had that mindset right there.
Right.
And then two, it's just not explained in any way, shape or form. Or maybe I'm wrong.
What's funny is Rian Johnson actually like pulled out the book, took a picture of like the exact explanation of what this was, and as well as the force projection, and he put it on his Twitter because people were like, "That's not a thing. You can't do that as a Jedi." And he like took pictures of like the exact text that says that they can do that. These are things that they can do.
Dude, you can. I'm not against them being able to do that at all. It's just in
the reaction of like, I've never seen this before, so I'm uncomfortable.
It must be hokey. Yeah.
I just wanted to see it in some way, like even just like poked at in the movie, where it was like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Like, it's just something like, I'm okay. Like you said, I know my dad used to have the Star Wars comics in the basement. Like, I know that there is so much information out there on this stuff that I don't know about. I didn't know that he did that, but that doesn't surprise me at all. I just wanted to see in some way, shape or form. Maybe Oscar Isaac just says something where it's like, shit. That was cool. Like, it just happens, and it's just like, okay, well, she's still here now. Like, and it's just then the movie continues, and that was that, and then the overload of jokes in that movie is still like, even though I've seen it now 3 times, that's the only 2 things that I'm like, man. I guess what I'm saying, if it was my movie, I just wouldn't have done that.
I enjoyed the comedy.
Really, I just thought some of it was a little forced, like where it was like, so there's the one joke that always comes to my mind is when Finn is battling with the head stormtrooper lady, and he calls her Chrome Dome. And like the whole thing,
Captain Phasma,
the whole ship is blowing up, and he's like, Chrome Dome, and it's like, dude, you're 30 seconds away from dying. Yep. And it was just, I mean, it's funny, but like, because it's Disney and because I know it's the same company that's owned by Marvel, and that's Marvel's kind of stick is that thing.
I was going to say that. So I was going to say they Marvelized a couple of those moments.
That's what I was about to say. It was like, I felt like Rian Johnson, is that what his name is? Is it Rain or Ryan?
Is it Ryan?
Is it Ryan? Okay.
It's Ryan.
No idea. So Rian Johnson, I felt like he showed that movie to the execs at Disney, and they were like, Can we get like 4 more jokes? Just a little.
Peppermint. But no, there's this thing. I can't think of the name of it, but there. Somebody did a great video talking about this with Marvel, and there's a name for it where they do these things where they take these great moments, and it happens in Marvel films all the time. Where you take these great moments where it's like you're building tension, you're building this character development, and then instead of allowing it to be that dramatic moment, you punctuate it with a joke, and it takes the air out of the dramatic moment. And it happens a lot.
I think it works with Marvel, though, because it keeps it a little bit more grounded in terms of, like, yeah, this is still a superhero movie.
But there are certain moments that need to have that drama. Like, you need to, like, if shit's getting torn up and you're all gonna die, you don't need to, like, throw that little... You don't need that Tony Stark quip thrown in there. You need to, like, take some of the gravity of the situation.
Yeah. It's like...
Well, think... Well, think about... Sorry.
No. I've been talking more than enough.
Okay, so think about all the times you've ever been at work and like the shit is going down and you're just like, I guess this is okay. Yeah, I'm going to die anyway. That's a real thing.
Yeah,
and
it is.
No, that's what I love about those moments. But I have to agree, Chrome Dome, stupid. Yeah. I don't think that would be something like anyone would say, except for a 4-year-old that was movie, like, Dad, can you put Chrome Dome in the movie? It's funny.
Like the editor was like, can we take this out? And they were like, nah, leave it in.
Yeah.
It's for the kids.
Like, I'm trying to help y'all out.
I know it is so odd because sometimes it feels forced and sometimes it feels natural, and then with like certain characters as well. Like one of my favorite scenes that we've seen in the newer Endgame trailers is when Thor reaches out for the the sword. No, it's not a sword, the axe.
Stormbreaker.
The Stormbreaker, that's what I couldn't remember the name. And it flies right past Captain Marvel's
head. Resident nerd here.
It flies right past Captain Marvel's head and she doesn't flinch at all. And then he goes and he says, I like her. And it's like,
she does that smirk.
Exactly.
She's like,
and I remember. Can you guys confirm something for me real quick?
We can try.
So there's been a couple of trailers that have come out for Endgame so far, right?
Yeah.
It's been like 5, I feel like.
Yeah, they keep adding a little.
That scene where when Thor calls out for...
Don't say what you're going to say.
What was I
going to say? Are you talking about the telepathy thing?
No.
Okay, never mind. Okay,
I thought you... Okay. No, that's not what I'm going with this.
Okay.
No,
go ahead.
Okay, so he calls out for the Stormbreaker. Was there ever a trailer that has come out so far, like in the past, like, month and a half, that instead of the Stormbreaker, his
Mjolnir or whatever it is.
I can't pronounce it.
Mjolnir.
The Mjolnir.
Mjolnir is destroyed. No, it's no longer a thing.
I swear to God, I saw a trailer that was different. And it had it.
Did
you see the same
I don't know
one?
if I saw it, but I know that I saw an article about it. It was from
a different angle. Because it was coming from... Because the one that I'm seeing now, it's facing his face. But the other trailer that I saw, it was facing towards Captain Marvel and the...
So the back of Stormbreaker has a square... It has a square back, so...
But I didn't see the axe portion of it. I swear to God, I'm not making this shit up. Like,
I bet it's out there.
I think I fucking saw this.
You think the Russo brothers was like, hey...
Like, they put it out for
original
a day.
hammer back.
Because now, okay, so here's my theory on this. There's actual weight to this, okay, Rob? Look, so you can do this thing on YouTube, and I think Austin McConnell just talked about this, like, on Vimeo, they allow you to, like, if you have to update a video, you can keep all the same metadata and information and, like, views and stuff, but you can update the video. So say you put something in, like, if we put something in here and we decided that we wanted to take it out and reload the video, we wouldn't lose all of the information, like the views, the comments, all that stuff.
Yeah, because it's a correction.
Vimeo allows you to do that. YouTube does not allow you to do that. But there was an Apple commercial that came out that had, like a crash in, like, something with, like, one of their phones that they were trying to show off, and there was, like, a crash to the phone, like, during the video, and then they took that off and re-uploaded it, but didn't change any of the view counts and stuff. So clearly YouTube can do that.
Yeah.
And this is, like, conspiracy theory shit now.
Only for their biggest accounts.
Russo brothers had this one trailer come out with the hammer, and I saw it, and then it got
Am I
re-uploaded
gonna have to look this up?
as
Like
the Stormbreaker.
I know I saw an article about that. I don't know if I saw the trailer, but I know I saw an article about that. I know you're not the only one out there saying that.
Okay.
You're
I
not
feel
alone.
like I feel like
Wasn't this about Star
like-
Wars?
I know. I was actually just about to say, do we have any
You
more
know,
Star Wars stuff before we go
we
into
are
other
watching
movies?
these movies wrong. You're watching this trailer wrong, okay?
It's because it's not the same trailer.
Because I did,
Okay.
I did want to at the end do a little talk about some other movies because I just saw Us. Didn't you see that?
Rob has not seen that.
Oh,
yet.
you haven't seen it yet?
I haven't because
That's not
I've
your
been-
bag.
it's not my bag. Horror's not my thing. I will probably eventually see it because, I mean,
Even from just a
It's supposed to be
filmmaking and
amazing if
storytelling
it's- yeah,
perspective,
exactly.
it's a great movie.
Yeah, I was just about to say, horror
I mean,
is
Jordan
not-
Peele is just insane.
yeah, horror is not my
So.
thing at all, and the whole
I don't even like horror.
the horror,
But my wife forces me to see these movies.
The whole-
So I have to appreciate them at some point.
I know. That's gonna be my life. I know it. The whole car
Ooh.
ride to the movies, I was like, dude, you guys are gonna have some dirt on me after this because I do not do well with these movies. Like, there's gonna be some scene where I'm gonna be like, oh, dude, like I don't do well. And it wasn't. I'm not gonna say it wasn't scary, but it wasn't torture porn. It wasn't like anything
good.
like.
But didn't I
Popped
tell
out.
you, so without giving anything away, did I not tell you that the trailer gives nothing away?
That's
right?
why I wanted to bring it up because
Yeah.
I remember we talked about it on the last podcast.
Oh, that's
and
good.
The thing that
because
you
an
said,
actual film doesn't give away their whole movie in one
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 minute trailer.
And what's funny is like watching that trailer, you're like, oh, they're giving everything away. They gave nothing
not
away.
literally nothing. Like it is. Now, granted, I think the themes in this movie are a lot more universal, so they apply a lot more to me, which is why I like this movie more than Get Out. Like, I understand Get Out and I understand the themes of it.
Mhm.
Just doesn't really apply to
Yeah.
me, obviously.
You're not the old white dude.
I'm white.
You're not the old white dude. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, like, so, but Us was a very universal theme, and it was like you should watch the movie, Rob. I think you'd enjoy
I will.
it, and
I will definitely
have an interesting take on it because it was one of those movies where when I walked out, I was like, I bet that makes a lot of money in terms of Jordan Peele is just really hot right now, but I bet there's a lot of people walking out of the theater like, what?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That was the
that was
initial
cool,
reaction.
but,
A lot of people did not get the like we were talking about surface meanings. It wasn't fed to you. You kind of had to pay attention to it.
Good. That's good because that's what movies should be mostly, unless it's a popcorn flick.
Yeah,
So
doesn't have the
I'm
rock
gonna
in
go.
it.
I'm gonna go back a step to the Mjolnir Thor's old hammer. So as we were talking, I did a little research and
There we go. I'm gonna get disproved.
No, I didn't find any footage.
Okay.
But there's an article that was posted yesterday about how, because Endgame is one of those things where they talk about, I think a million times it's hinted that time travel is going to be a thing.
Right.
They're thinking that Captain America may wield Thor's original hammer while Thor wields Stormbreaker. Because if you see in Age of Ultron, he's the only one that can budge the hammer because in the comics he can lift it up, and so can Vision and all them, everyone who is deemed worthy. So they're thinking he's going to time travel and bring that back as an artifact with him
Okay.
to take on Thanos, and it's going to be a lot of time meddling, but to get to the point of fuck Thanos.
I like that theory, but I don't know if I like that one as much as the theory that I read online the other day where Captain America was going to sacrifice himself to get one of the stones. Because you remember in Infinity War, spoiler,
Spoiler, come on.
Thanos throws Gamora off of the mountain thing
For the soul gem.
For the soul gem.
Yeah.
Well, if they're going to go back in time, they're going to have to sacrifice something. If their goal is to go back in time to collect the stones before
and you're thinking
Thanos,
that that's the one that they're going to collect because they have a clear idea of.
yeah. So,
Huh.
I mean, this is not something I came up with on
yeah.
my own. This is something that I read online. The only theory, and there's no way I am the only person who's thinking this, but the only theory that I've come up with on my own is for the Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, Hulk arc, where in terms of like I mean, the last 3 Marvel movies we've seen with him in Ragnarok.
Smart Hulk.
Yeah, Ragnarok, Infinity War, and now Endgame. I mean, and Mark Ruffalo said this years before. He said, by the time that these movies are done, it's going to be like the Hulk had his own standalone movie, and it's already kind of like that, I think. My theory is that, like, since the Hulk was the Hulk for so long on that planet with Jeff Goldblum, he got to be his own he had to develop his own consciousness, where like now they are truly 2 split personalities living inside of Bruce Banner, and the Hulk is tired of being used as like the scapegoat.
Yeah,
like he's tired of Bruce
fodder.
Yeah, he's tired of Bruce just using him as in terms of like to put out all his fires.
Well, that goes directly into the theory that if Bruce Banner comes to terms with the Hulk, he can become one person, one personality as the Hulk, which is the story arc of what they call him Professor Hulk, where he's like, he would have the same like kind of vocal quality, but he'd be like, I'm super smart. Hey, let's go fuck Thanos up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that
almost
I think
like
is probably
in
more
the X-Men universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So he would have to get to that point where, because you have those 2 distinct personalities, Hulk is not going to come out unless he has his own stake in it. And that could be, he needs to make amends and take control at the same time. Otherwise, he's going to stay buried forever.
It's just, it's just going to be so fascinating to see. Because I mean, I've been saying this, I feel like since Infinity War came out and since I saw it, like whatever Endgame is going to be, whatever kind of resolution we're going to have, it's not going to end with a resolution. It's still going to end with, it's Marvel, you know, it's still going to end with something of like, oh, well, Jesus, what's going to happen next? Yeah, exactly. Oh, of course.
Well, there's another phase happening after this too. So Captain Marvel sets up that next phase. Yeah, so something has to happen to set that up.
And
not just in a good way and a bad way.
And not just Captain Marvel, you've got Spider-Man. You know, Spider-Man Homecoming is coming afterwards. And what's her face?
So many theories.
Has said, what's it? The girl, the woman, one of the women who runs the Marvel universe, she said in an interview that Spider-Man Homecoming takes place after Infinity War, but before Endgame or something like that.
It's minutes after is what they said. And so that's where they're talking about there could be so much going on, you know.
And then, so we just named 2 characters. You have Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. We all remember I'm sure you guys both saw it. Doctor Strange literally ends with "There's too many sorcerers." Like we know there's gonna be another Doctor Strange.
Of course.
Which I mean, he was the character outside of Ant-Man where I was like, when I saw there was going to be a Doctor Strange movie, now granted I didn't know anything about him, I was like, how are they going to do this? And now I'm like, dude, I want to see everything Doctor Strange. I mean, he's so cool.
They literally just took Inception and put Marvel in there.
Am I the only one in the room that wasn't thrilled with the Doctor Strange?
With Doctor Strange? Movie? I think Doctor Strange suffered from the same thing that a lot of Captain Marvel fans see, is that it came out kind of late in the phases.
Okay.
So where it didn't have as big of an impact. If it would have come out with Captain America and Iron Man and all that stuff, you would have been like, holy crap.
You know
what I mean?
Like, kind of like, I guess took me out of the character, and I've talked about, we're off the rails, man. This is supposed to be about Star Wars.
That's all right, man. So, it's Star Wars / Marvel. Let's do it.
It's Disney, so it's all Disney.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Disney's glad that we're talking about them.
But all the Disney princesses up in here.
Captain America, while he's not my favorite superhero by any means, he, to me, is one of the most interesting because he was a hero before he was a hero.
Yeah.
He didn't have the means to be a person. He was a scrawny kid from Brooklyn that was getting his ass handed to him on the daily. And yet he still felt the need that he could be a person that could fight. And he wanted to be in the war, even though he knew he would probably die. More than likely die. Probably step on a beach and just die.
Yeah.
But
the grenade scene.
He was a hero before he was a hero. Now with Doctor Strange, what takes me out of his story and his arc, he was an arrogant prick.
He was kind of a dick.
He was an arrogant asshole, and he got injured by his own means, and then he blamed other people for it. And the thing is, like, I get the whole, like, he comes to realize, you know, later on that was wrong, but, like, you had to get to the point that you fucking ruined your life over texting while driving.
Yeah.
Like,
Something so simple.
And like, to me, that just like kind of that character, it took me out of the movie because of who he was before he became that. Whereas like everyone else, well, Tony Stark was a condescending prick too, but at the same time, I think much sooner with the being captured and blah blah blah, he came to the realization that he was not seeing things clearly the way that he maybe should have.
See, that's the thing that I kind of makes me interested in the characters, because I think if Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. is not, or if they're not going to be in the next phases of the Marvel universe, and they may be, but if they're not, then I think Doctor Strange has that opportunity to take up that mantle in terms of like the broken, this guy's an asshole, but he's also a superhero, because I don't think he makes that full turnaround to good guy by the end of Doctor Strange. I mean, like, you see he's definitely in the process of turning, but he's definitely, at least in my opinion, not accepted all of like the rules in terms of like he's still playing by his own rules. So I think we could see a lot of more in his arc in terms of like, you remember in the second Iron Man movie where Tony is dying. You know, like the thing in his chest is killing him. So we could see maybe like the magic isn't killing Doctor Strange, but like it's changing him to the point where like he's now reverting back into that old form that he was. Like he was becoming an asshole all over again, and now he's using them. Now it's even worse because now he's got magic on his side.
Right.
Like,
he's a magical dick.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like he's cutting in line at Starbucks with his magic. Like,
well, I think that by the time you see him in Infinity War, so much time has passed from that film to that point. You can see his interaction with Tony when, like, right before the dropship comes in. You can see there's still the cockiness there because he kind of is toe to toe with Tony Stark.
Yeah, that's,
that's one
of my favorite parts in Infinity War.
I enjoyed him in Infinity War, and I enjoyed him in Ragnarok. But his standalone movie, for whatever reason, it threw me out of it.
Honestly, it's definitely not one of my. It's so weird. The standalone movies are for Marvel are so hit or miss. Like, because I think the first Captain America movie is not good at all. Like, it's just so boring.
I get you.
It's a popcorn like type of, this is entertaining if you're into it.
It is, but Winter Soldier, I will put that up against any of the Marvel movies. I think it's one of, if not the best.
Well, case study. Compare the three Thor movies.
Yep. Oh my God. Jesus.
Oh my God. Ragnarok was the only one that was
in the first Thor movie.
It was the big. I mean, really, it's Loki, but no, I don't. It's that big metal thing.
Rob, do you remember the name?
Of course he does.
Fuck. It wasn't that. It was Loki.
Yeah, Loki is the villain, but it's the thing that he sends down. The thing
that he fights is, what the hell is that? What is it called?
Oh, that's big just a sentry. I can't remember what it's called, but that's not the villain. That's the thing.
The big,
but that was like sent down. Big fight is that thing.
So flat. I watched that the other day. It's so.
Well, the thing is,
flat.
okay, so I'm not defending Thor. Not a great Marvel film, but the reason why is because there was so much undertone that they should have brought it to the surface. Loki is the villain of that film. And then when you get into the second one, that's when you fall into that, okay, we know Loki's evil. He's still Thor's brother, so he's not going to fucking, kill him or anything. And then you've got this dark elf dude that you have no idea who the hell he is. Like, that was the Justice League moment.
Yes.
You remember in the Justice League where you're like, oh, this guy's coming to destroy Earth?
Cool.
Who?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who? What's his name? Sebastian or something? What? Like,
and then,
like, that's how I felt about the second one.
I'm like, this movie's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Well, also, I mean, that really benefited from having a good director who had a clear vision in terms of like, you know what? You may not like the story here. Say what you will about the story here, but my movie, visually, it's going to be different than anything you've seen so far.
Yep.
And because like the colors in that movie,
very
pop,
80s,
like,
the theme music, all the music was very 80s. It was,
It kind of took a lot of the elements that made Guardians of the Galaxy really stand out and made it a hit movie, but it changed it to make it its own version
of the comedy. We were talking about that earlier, about that infusion of comedy. There was so many points that were punctuated with those jokes.
My favorite scene in that movie. Please don't cut my hair. Please don't cut my hair. Please.
I love
the Stan Lee scene.
I love everything with God, I can't think of his name. Fuck off, Ghost.
Yeah.
That's the director.
Yeah.
That's the director.
I love I watched this video. It was all of the Stan Lee cameos, and the one that Ant-Man and Wasp was after. No, that was after Infinity War. So that when that came out, I completely forgot about the cameo that he has in the movie where the car shrinks on him and he's like, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it. I was dying laughing when I saw that in the video. It's like, this guy's just got the best sense of humor. Like, he's like, whatever.
He's totally in on it. Like, he's totally willing to be a nerd.
Because I was saying earlier, I'm watching a lot of the Marvel movies again, and I watched it's Iron Man 2 is where he plays Hugh Hefner, and Robert Downey Jr. just walks behind him and he's like, hey, you look great, Hef, and he like turns around and he's like, it's like the simplest cameo he has, but I would bet money that's probably one of his favorites. Yeah. Like, was one of his favorites.
It's because he loved women. Like, have you ever heard those stories about Stan where he was just like, hey, to like everyone?
Yeah, he was a big womanizer. I mean,
so can we reel it all the way back to Star Wars?
Of course.
Yeah, go. Bring it back, Rob. Bring it back. Far field. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but go.
I just wanted to ask you guys the simple question: do you think Rey is a Skywalker? Sub question: do you think the conversation in The Last Jedi between Kylo Ren or Ben and Rey was a misdirect to have Rey fall to the dark side and be with Ben? Because in The Last Jedi, he goes, your parents were junkers, they were nobodies. Or do you think there's a possibility that she could be a Skywalker? And if not, tell me your thoughts. Mind blown.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to process right away. I doubt that what we heard about her parents in Last Jedi, I doubt that's true. I just can't imagine what Ben has to gain from telling, even if that was the truth. What does Ben have to gain from that? What, you look
her
like
allegiance?
Yeah, but what
her allegiance? That would be it.
But that's not what she wants to hear. I mean, if he's looking to manipulate her and to take her in on the good side, don't you think he would be better off served telling her what she wanted to hear?
But he's not good at this. Like,
yeah,
this portion of
he's
it.
Not.
True.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not.
He's trying to be Vader.
Smooth with the ladies.
Like, yo, your parents were nobodies.
You feel it, you know?
Yeah. Like, then she's gonna come over and be like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna join you because I'm, nobody." But that is
my favorite Rey impression to be.
But that's just not. I think it's just because he's bad at it.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. Is she a Skywalker?
Is she a Skywalker? The Rise of Skywalker.
I guess
could it be
the best way? I guess my best answer for this is I hope not, because I like living in the universe where not everyone who is a Jedi and who's not everyone who can kick ass is a Skywalker, because that's like kind of what we've seen so far. And I mean, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda are like the only ones we've seen with the lightsaber who really kick ass, who are not.
Come on, Mace Windu, man. Come on.
I mean, he was cool. Like he was cool. I'm not gonna take anything away from him, but like we didn't really see Mace Windu kick that much ass in those movies. Like he was more just like,
that's true.
Oh, dude, that's Samuel L. Jackson. He's black and he's got a purple lightsaber. That's awesome.
Because
like,
he wanted a purple lightsaber because he's Samuel L. Jackson.
Exactly. I'm not saying it wasn't cool. Like I've always told the greats.
Give me the one with the purple.
The greats.
I like that.
We don't have purple, Sam. We don't do that.
You do now.
The great story of Samuel L. Jackson told, I think it was on Howard Stern or something, when they were asked, it was like, did you always want to be in Star Wars? And he was like, man, when they came up to me to be in Star Wars, I told them I'd play Yoda's to be in Star Wars. Which essentially it was.
Jeez, like, I did not know that.
Yeah, he'd be like, I'd play Yoda's to be in Star Wars. But so I guess what I'm saying is I hope that she's not a Skywalker, because I just like living in that universe where she's different. I just like that. I think that's cool. And
like maybe she's conceived in the Force.
What was the second thing that you said? About the projection. I think, and I didn't even think about this until you brought up the question. maybe that's where Palpatine fits in. Maybe Palpatine set that up, because remember, there's the scene in Last Jedi when they first get together in that thing where
they were saying that Snoke was pulling the strings, and Snoke was taking claim of pulling the strings on that, but you're thinking that it was Palpatine.
Maybe it could be.
Holy shit!
It could be. I don't know. At
the very least, one of those could have been at the hand of Palpatine, because Snoke very well could have controlled one of them, and then Palpatine could have went back and said, "I'm going to do another one on top of this."
And it just popped into my head when you asked the question. I'd never even thought about that, because I watched it the other day. Like I said, I watched Last Jedi the other day, and there's the scene that is sticking out in my mind, really. This line that Kylo has that's sticking out in my mind really a lot right now is when he says, "You couldn't be doing this. The power would be ripping your mind apart." So we obviously know that he's not doing it. And we obviously know is Rey's not doing it either. That. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Shit.
But couldn't that be the denial in Ben to think that she's not powerful enough? But you've already proven and seen.
Yeah, he's dismissed her several times.
Well, yes, but time and time again, she can do backflips and cut up TIE fighters. You saw that in the trailer. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
That is a great point, and that's something that he would definitely do. Would be to belittle
her to make her think she's less powerful than she
and sell her short. But
it's the mind game.
But if she is doing it, if she is, she's either playing a great bluff, or she doesn't realize she's doing it either, or doesn't know how she's doing it, because everything that she has expression wise, because remember, she shoots the blaster off like right away, like almost. She's like, "Oh shit, what's going on?"
Theory. I mean, this kind of throws a monkey in the wrench of what you're theorizing about. But could it have been Luke controlling that, forcing them to talk to each other?
Realize that they're not that far off. Oh man, that's an interesting thought.
No. I think that's probably the furthest away from what it could be.
But
only because he doesn't have anything to gain from them to
I get what you're saying
together.
with it. But at the same time, he would have the power to do so. If we're saying
of course.
No, yeah,
the top end people have that possibility.
Yeah, if he could astro project himself onto wasn't it another planet? Like if he can do that.
Yes, it was across the galaxy.
Yeah, he can do this, for God's sake. Chucky.
All right, so let's go with my theory, and I've kind of held the same theory, and it's just because we talked about how history repeats itself, that they're twins.
You think that Rey is the twin of Kylo?
Yes. So they're twins, and it's pretty much the same story that we got before, where one's dumped off at a desert planet, and the other one gets to be the chosen one or whatever. And because you get all those knowing looks in episode 7, where you've got Han Solo looking at her like, I know you're my daughter, but I can't say anything. I'm surprised that you've learned how to fly these things. Like, I kind of want you to come back around now, especially because she was talking about, I'm waiting for my parents to come back. I need to get back to the planet. And he's like, maybe not. I need a crew member. How about you help your old dad out? And so if they would be, two sides of the same coin, they would be drawn together.
Yes.
So
can I give you the answer to your question?
Damn.
In the Star Wars extended universe, Han and Leia have twins.
Yeah.
Named Jaina and Jason.
Right.
And in the movie and in the covers of the books, they look almost exactly like the actors.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
That is the mind fuck of that right there. If you look at some of the cover art of the books, you're like, holy crap, that dude looks like Adam Driver and that girl looks like Daisy Ridley. Did they cast them on
based
purpose
on
because of that?
And
could this be the end game? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've held that theory since the beginning, is that it's going to be pretty much the same thing, because it mirrors a New Hope so well, because you had the princess and the pauper, and now you've got the prince and the pauper.
I was literally just about to say that.
The opposite piece. So you've got, she's dumped off on a desert planet, doesn't know her parents, blah blah blah. It's the same story.
And it's the history repeating itself as well, like
Within
you said
the Force,
earlier.
Because the Force needs balance, and the balance comes from those things being opposite. So twins are a perfect... Yep. It's the perfect representation of the balance of the Force.
Oh, man.
First, episode 1, 2, and 3, the twins are on the third film.
Right.
Revealed because they were born.
Right.
Episode 4, 5, and 6, they revealed that the relationship between Luke and Leia are twins. 6, 7, 8, and 9, this could be Rey and Ben could be twins. And they would still technically be Skywalkers, so it's still the same family.
So it would be the Rise of Skywalker.
And it could be either one.
Oh, man.
I love your reaction there. You're just like, holy
man. You've never heard this theory?
No, man. I'm so much more excited to see this movie now. Oh man,
I'm so glad we were able to like put that in the back of your mind, because you're gonna be thinking. So if it goes one way, you're gonna be like, holy
and you're gonna be
shit.
like, there's so many hints to it.
Yeah, I'm about to go pop in The Force Awakens when I get home.
You're gonna watch Han Solo and be like, this motherfucker knows.
Because as soon as you brought that scene up, I was like, oh my god, that makes total sense, because that does come out of left field. Like, yeah, I know that she's helping him out in this situation, but like literally, they just met 5 minutes ago, and you already want her to be your co-captain on the ship. Yeah. Like, it's the Falcon, dude. Like, you just got it back.
She's like, I bypassed the compressor, and he has almost no reaction because, like,
he goes,
that's my kid.
Yeah, of course you did.
He does
of
that.
course you did.
Well, not only that, like, in that scene between them going to see Maz Kanata, it's like, you know, things are going to change. So he's like, I feel like he can kind of feel it, even though he's never talked about as like a Force sensitive person. I feel like he can either sense that this person is important if it's not his daughter, or he knows he's not allowed to speak of it because maybe Luke, or he knows. Oh, dude. Okay, hold on. Han knows about what happened with Ben to turn into Kylo, so he's afraid to tell Rey because he's afraid that Rey will turn into someone just like how Kylo did,
or not.
That's why he never says anything.
She knows that it's his. It's
because it's her only family. Yeah.
My only thought though running through my head is why
holy crap,
if the galaxy, at least for that time period, was in a better situation, why did they have to give her up in the first place? I mean, that could be
the galaxy wasn't. Let me clarify that. After Return of the Jedi, in canon, through the books and through some of the video games that are canon now, the Emperor has this campaign after he dies. It's like a failsafe where they basically cover up his death. So the rebellion's big win is swooped out from under them, and they are completely on the run. They get the Republic back, but at the same time, there's no victory.
And that's
to
what
say
becomes of the new order. It's just basically
that's why the First Order happens.
Yeah,
all the factions of the Empire come together to unite under the banner to say, "Hey, the rebellion is fake." You know what I mean? Good old Lyndon B. Johnson.
Honestly, that's a perfect place to end it, because we've got a mind below theory on what could potentially be.
I know, right?
So
we got to come back, and when it gets closer to
once we get another trailer, I think we should revisit it and see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we're also have to do one of these for Endgame in 2 weeks as well.
Yeah, I was about to say Endgame, man.
Yeah, that's mucho necesito.
Well, that's cool. Well, this was us. This is the three guys just nerding out about Star Wars.
That's right.
All right.
And about 16 other things.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Peace.